is to turn it on.
Have you read My Friend Is On?
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah.
This is on my side for the, for me to create agenda.
Good evening, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with Section 1983, 1984 Wisconsin statutes in such form that we will apprise the general public and news media of a subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call. It appears that we are all here. Pledge allegiance. And what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to start a new tradition. I did this when I was on the school board. We're going to have a moment of silence too. There's a lot going on in our crazy world. And I'm going to say a prayer for our village and my trustees to have a great village trustee meeting. So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Which stands. Okay, we're on the President's Report. I've never done a President's Report, so this is my first time doing a President's Report, so just bear with me. I did send about 99% of this to the village trustees over the weekend. Good evening. I hope that everyone had an enjoyable Easter weekend. In my first President's Report, I plan to share some thoughts after taking the oath of office just 6 days ago to be your next village president. And as your next village president, please know that I take this responsibility very seriously, and I will commit to all of you that I will not operate in a silo, and I'll be very transparent. You may not always like what I have to say, but I will listen, I will use common sense, and I will be respectful. But most importantly, I'll be a person of integrity and will strive to do what is always right. As I am new to this role, I will make mistakes, and when doing so, please feel free to laugh at me because I will be laughing at myself. But I do ask for your help, your patience, and most importantly, your grace. First, I want to congratulate Christine Borst for her election as trustee district number 4. Trustee Borst, we wish you the very best and are very excited to what you will do to move Germantown forward. I also want to congratulate my predecessor, Village President Dean Walter, and to thank him for his many years of service to our great community and to wish him nothing but the very best in this new chapter in his life. He will be missed. I want to thank those trustees and staff that have reached out to me to offer their congratulations. That means a tremendous amount to me, so thank you very much. Saying that, I am not naive. I know that there are some that wish that there would have been a different outcome from the April 1 election. But based on the record turnout, it is apparent that the community wanted a different direction, which they will get. There will be a paradigm shift and the status quo is no more. My goals are clear. I support responsible fiscal management, sensible growth, better village board governance, better village operations oversight, and a government that is transparent, responsive, and accountable to the people of our community. As stewards of the taxpayers' money, I will always seek ways to lessen the residents' tax burden by truly having an open for business mindset. This past week, I met with Administrator Krecklow, and we are already reviewing our development process. And this coming week, I'll be meeting with and partnering with Community Development Director Retzloff on this matter. Of course, the goal is to eliminate the roadblocks and streamline the process for would-be developers that want to come to Germantown, as well as make it easier for our existing businesses to grow. This will also include conducting an annual review of our 2050 plan, where there'll be maximum community input to ensure that the plan is current and that they will truly move our community forward. We have many empty box storefronts that need to be filled, and I will focus on that. We need more retail and entertainment establishments for our residents that will attract more folks to visit and to shop in our community. We need more owner-occupied residents, which may include a combination of single-family homes, townhomes, or condos. By doing so, this will immediately bring in much-needed tax revenues that will lessen the tax burden for all of us and help boost our utilities in many cases. I will support a temporary pause on new multifamily rental units in our community and will ask that we conduct a survey with the U.S. Postal Service to analyze the approximately 9,400 residences within the 2 zip codes in the village. How many of those homes are owner occupied as a percent of the total, and how many are rentals as a percent of the total? I would then ask that we benchmark with our peer communities that may include Jackson, Tosa, Brown Deer, and the Falls for the purpose of identifying a baseline. As I am data-driven, my goal is to take the emotions out of the argument. Maybe we need more rentals, or maybe we don't, but we will find out. Likewise, to further support moving Germantown forward, I'll be partnering with all of you to launch 2 initiatives that will facilitate growth that will make our community a better place to live, work, and visit. The first initiative is Celebrate Germantown campaign, where we will market Germantown on social media via both print and 1 or 2 minute video segments. We will highlight our great parks, our schools, our wonderful restaurants, and the many events that are held at Fireman's Park. In chatting with local restaurant owners and others in the community, this is already getting a high level of interest. This initiative will also better provide communication to our community as well. As someone with 20 years of experience in the retail sector, the second initiative is focusing on creating a beautification campaign where we recognize businesses that improve upon their curb appeal of both the inside and the outside of their establishments. Everyone wants a pleasant experience when visiting our retail, office, and restaurant venues, and curb appeal goes a long way. To kickstart this initiative, we will start at the Village Hall and other village properties as the tone starts at the top. From a village board governance standpoint, I will ensure that we are more transparent, responsive, and accountable to the people of our community. In my opinion, today we are not. There'll be no more backroom deals in closed session with monies being spent without taxpayer awareness. I will ensure that board committees and commissions are allowed to do their jobs and not bypassed by matters going directly to the village board. To ensure this occurs, I've already met with our village attorney to determine if we need to add language to our muni codes to accomplish this task. Evidence of this is the Blackstone Creek land swap proposal that was supposed to be on the village board agenda this evening, but instead I asked that it go to the Parks and Rec Commission for them to vote on this matter. As part of the land swap, they are losing some park land, but also gaining more land. They need to vote on it, and they will. I will also be partnering with my fellow colleagues on the board to develop board goals that, once finalized, will guide all that we do. These goals will then be cascaded down to the village staff, and that will guide village operations. I will promote attendance by village trustees to as many committee and/or commission meetings as feasible to bolster preparedness and efficiency for subsequent village board meetings. You may have seen the appointments and reappointments of the board, committee, and commissions on the agenda tonight. You will notice that there are some changes. Russ Ewert, school board president, is now a full voting member of the Plan Commission as a citizen representative. I am working with our village attorney to change the Muni Code to update the code that allows a school district representative to be a full voting member and not just an ex officio one as it is today. I'm also asking the General Government and Finance Committee Code to be updated to reflect the addition of a community member who I plan on appointing relatively soon. This person is truly a subject matter expert in the area of finance and will provide an extra set of eyes and ears watching over village finances. And mind you, this all has to go to this board to be voted on in the near future. As you know, I'm extremely passionate about ethics and compliance, and specific to the area of conflict of interest, I've asked our village attorney to review the ethics code for possible changes to ensure that there are no gaps in this area. As elected officials, we live and operate in a glass house, and as such, we must be as transparent as possible to ensure that the trust that the community has placed on us is not tarnished in any way. Finally, and this is in the doing of the right thing category, you will notice on the agenda that I'm asking the village to refund $1,460 for a conditional use per application fee to a local resident who wanted to open his business in a building that the village bought instead. What occurred to this business owner was wrong and must never occur again. I hope that you all support me in this matter. All these things that I mentioned will support a more open and transparent governance posture, which is what our constituents expect and demand of us. Now to address the elephant in the room, and this is the Village Center project and the proposed TID 10. As candidate Bob, you are all fully aware that I did not support this, and certainly not phase one of the project, as in my opinion, we are using government dollars to subsidize high-density rental units. Saying that, I do support phase two of the project that would bring in additional retail, commercial, and restaurants along with the community market plots. Now that I am the village president, I have both a legal and fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers in our community, and I will ensure that whatever we do, our decisions will be risk-based. The previous village board has committed to spending $7.4 million on land for phase one of the project. We can't get out of these deals as there was no termination clause for convenience language in the contracts to protect village interests. The bottom line is that today we have millions of dollars at risk. Going forward, is allowing the TID to be created with maximum community input on what will go in phase 1 of the project the right thing to do? This may be the less risky thing to do. And if we do go down that path, I would ask for the creation of an ad hoc committee that is made up of community representatives and trustees to immediately drive this process. In closing, I know that I have covered a tremendous amount of information, but at least you know where I stand. Please know that I am really looking forward to my new role and working and partnering with all of you to move Germantown forward. Thank you. We are now on to item 5, announcements of forthcoming events of public interest, committee and department reports. Trustee Kaminsky.
Public Works will meet in this room at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 7th of May.
Trustee Rick Miller.
General Government and Finance will meet on May 19th at 5:30 in this room.
Thank you. And Trustee Meg Cutts, Public Safety.
Public Safety will meet in this room Monday, May 5th at 6 p.m. The Library Board meets this Wednesday at 5:30 at the library, and the Rec Department is holding a Celebrate Arbor Day event on Friday at 4 p.m. at Spaslin Park, and there's going to be a tree planting, a proclamation, and some kids' activities.
Oops, sorry. Anyone else that'd like to comment on department and or committees or reports? Okay, moving on to item 6, citizen input. If anyone would like to come forward to provide input, please fill out the yellow slip. And likewise, if anybody is on the WebEx, please let the moderator know that you'd like to speak.
It's working. I'd like to welcome Bob and Kristen to our board. It's a breath of fresh air, and I want to bring up something. I don't know how many of you read the huge internet response to our elections. We're happy that these two people have joined our staff. I want to see what the public has said on the internet. It's horrible. And should let this board wake up and realize how hundreds and hundreds of comments on the internet that this community does not want the village project to be carried through, okay? Some of the comments, no secret meetings anymore, which President Soderman acknowledged these closed sessions. No high-density apartments. One guy said, are we in a communist village or what? That the board has overlooked the wants of the people. This is the people now, citizens of this community. The board doesn't give a damn what the residents want. Why do we have to fund anything? Seems like corruption. Every time somebody wrote the comment like that, there were 4 to 6 comments agreeing with these people. Public meetings mean nothing to the past board. Only care about they only care about development. The only 2 people that are gonna make any benefit of this are the developers and Bridget Hank. Oh, they didn't like her either. And then Trustee Baum made a lot of comments, and there was at least 20 comments on recalling. And what's the cost? Nobody ever mentions how much this is going to cost us. I was on another one too. Where are all the developers? We haven't seen any of them yet. What's the cost? Haven't seen it. I called up some state representatives and they said that these lands should be sold. We might take a loss, but in the long run, the village, hundreds of people don't want this project. They're against it 100%. So I hope that this would be taken in consideration. They don't want TIDs either. And This is the message. It's a big resounding no. That's from the residents you represent. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else that'd like to speak tonight?
Good evening, everybody. Doug Lohman, W180N9881 Rivers Bend Circle West, and that is in Germantown. President Sodenberg, Trustee Borst, congratulations. Glad to see you here, and best of luck in your service to the community and everything. I want to comment tonight on the Planning Commission meeting, the most recent Planning Commission meeting. I know President Soderberg was there. One of the commissioners commented at length about how the people coming here to make public comments were very intimidating to those that wanted to speak out for it. And that bothered me a lot. I hope I can make this clear to all of you on how I feel about this. Trustee Pieper and I, we crossed paths a couple of weeks ago and everything, and she smiled at me and I went, do I know her? I apologize. But I'm used to seeing her on an elevated platform. Now, my business is visual perception. That is my business. I am very good at it. There's very few people in this world that can shake a stick at me when it comes to that. And I got fooled by it. She walked right by me and smiled, and I was like, oh, it's Trustee Piper. Okay, but that's okay. I'm trying to set up a scene here. She looks differently here in this setting than she does out in the public. And that's the truth for all of you. Every single one of you. Because there's power by that elevation. There's power by that elevation. There's also another thing. I'm the person that walked in here and I put Doug Lohman on a slip of paper and put my address and I handed it over to the village clerk. You know, there's power in that. There's an awful lot of power. Just like the power, why does the federal government tax the individual? Why don't they tax the state? Because they got power over them. You know, they can very easily manipulate the situation. What that commissioner did is they compared me to an anonymous person on the internet. And that is a big disservice to everybody who's going to come up here and make comments to everybody here. Thank you so much for your time. Once again, congratulations, you too.
Thank you for coming. And by the way, my name is Soderberg, not Soderberg. My uncle in Michigan calls us Soderberg. My dad from Iowa says Soderberg. So you could call me anything you want. So, but thank you. Next up.
Okay, I do that because I get shocks off this. Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. Congratulations to President Soderberg and Trustee Borst. Welcome. Congratulations. Thank you for your lovely letter. I'm glad that we got to hear it as well as the trustees. And so I'm looking at that as the start of transparency, that conversations are open. And I do appreciate that because we have not had that 100% of the time in recent years. Just a couple of things. I have a laundry list of things. One, talking about power. It would be nice if the sound on that timer was turned off. It's really obnoxious when you're trying to get your thoughts together and speak. If you have to have it, I can understand that. But if the sound can be off for all of the meetings, it would be great. I appreciate the fact that you're going to be reimbursing the conditional use permit fee to that resident. I think that's a righteous act. This is going to be kind of jumping around a little bit. Some of the things that happen with the flow of agenda items in the village is that shortcuts are taken, that things don't go through the proper flow of committees, and that some committees don't actually do the work of thinking through the issues before just say, oh, well, the village board needs to see it, so they just pass it along. Now, today we had a good example of that not happening at GGF, where they took more time than I would say sometimes in the past to go through and really dig into the Windows contract. So good for you. Congratulations. We need more activity like that. In regards to development, a lot of due diligence in the beginning of development projects are skipped, and it ends up causing problems. And you can see problems littered from bad development decisions throughout the village. Regarding communications, it would be nice if there was a policy where the frequency, the type of content, the delivery methods was clear, and that we knew where to go and look for things. People say, oh, well, it's in the whatever it's called, I think it's a news section, but sometimes it doesn't make sense why you would go and look for something there. So it would be nice to know the types of documents, information, where to go and get them. I'm glad to see that you've changed up the trustee positions. I think fresh ideas, fresh eyes on the different subject matters is good, and I hope that the boards and committees will encourage more resident changes, because I think that's important to include the residents in discussion on important matters. People want to help, and I think you should ask them. And the last thing I'll say is that the budget season is coming up, and I'd like to see true zero-based budgeting applied. Thank you.
Thank you, and we will work on the sound for you. So, welcome.
Sarah Larson, Butternut Road. I would sing You Can Call Me Al, but I'm not a singer, so I'll spare you. So welcome, Al, and welcome, Trustee Borst. We're very glad to have you on the board. I too am very thankful to see that we're doing the correct thing tonight by bringing that refund of the conditional use permit back. I've been advocating for that now for a year practically. So I'm very glad to see that we're going to do the right thing. I do have a question that I received some open records requests, and I'm very grateful to the clerk for providing those concerning the village center. And now different things seem to be falling into place. In the Ehlers presentation, it said borrowing of 7.9, and Bob, you had just mentioned 7.4 million for phase one. So there is that adjacent strip next to the Ascension Building, and we have an offer to purchase of $505,000 for that. And I had inquired at the Plan Commission saying that the Gray Wolf was going to be coming before the Plan Commission to meld that in and have their survey map changed to make that part of the contiguous parcel. So I'm wondering why we haven't been talking about that $505,000. And is that going to be closing at the same time as the Ascension problem or property? Or has something changed with that? And then again, I still see the Gray Wolf packet in a different spot on the village website. I don't see it listed under planned projects, so I'm wondering why that wouldn't be coming forward to the Plan Commission or how that got removed. So if we could kind of get some light on that. And I see that we are getting a mortgage from Gray Wolf on that little slice of property. I didn't see anything for the 5 million for the Ascension parcel. So if we could also have clarity to whether there'll be a mortgage for that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wanting to come up and speak tonight? Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Scott Heffley, W159 and 10514 Old Farm Road, Germantown. I too would like to congratulate President Soderberg and Trustee Borst on their new positions. Look forward to your service to this village. Just a quick history, and President Soderberg would know this. I've been going to these meetings for a little over 3 years, but before that, I spent about 2 years going to the school board meetings where Mr. Soderberg was the school board president, commenting on a lot of issues, mostly budget related, same thing I do here. And yes, Mr. Soderberg and we clashed on some of those issues. We really did. We had difference of opinions, but in the end, we always found middle ground, and I think that was due to mutual respect. I expect that to continue here. There's no reason for me not to expect that. I spend more of my time here because I have more concerns here than I do with the school board, which I think the school district is in a better place financially than we are. I'm also a big fan of the ACFR, which is put out there that we all believe in, that we get from Baker Tilly, that we sign off on. So a lot of the numbers and stuff that I present to this board are from that report. So if anyone here thinks that that's misinformation, then we got to go back to Baker Tilly and tell them. But I handed out something to you today that shows you the organizational chart of this village, okay? It is the residents who elect the elected officials, who oversee the administrator and on down the line, okay? I have seen this coming here for 3+ years, going to a lot of meetings. You guys have seen me at every meeting here. I saw up to this point kind of a reversal of that, where staff was leading which direction we're going and the trustees just going along for the ride, or majority wins or whatever. I want to see less of that. I want to hear what you think about what's going on, whether I agree with you or not. I want more input, okay? And I think that's what we should expect as a village from our elected officials. We elect you for a reason. Now, the nice thing is with 2 new trustees, it's not a life sentence like maybe people thought it was, where you have to be a trustee for 25 years, because no one's going to run. I think there's enough people interested in what's going on that's healthy. We do have some new trustees. I also support giving Mr. Kamzik his feedback for the conditional use permit. As a matter of fact, I know him fairly well, and I told him it's being discussed tonight. He goes, well, let me know how it goes. I'm not coming. So if we're going to do that, he will take it. He will be appreciative. It's the right thing to do. I brought it up myself, much like Mrs. Larson said, and I don't know why we didn't do that, but if we do that, I think that's a smart idea. The final comment I'll say is, I keep hearing how waiting on those 2 studies from the school district, and I know all the people on the school board quite well, all right? I keep hearing it referred to as a stunt to slow down the village center, which really upsets me quite a bit, okay? Why do I say that? Because we're only going to benefit if the village agrees to work with the school board together on things, okay? United we stand, divided we fall. Everybody remembers that. It's only going to work if we find ways to do that. If there's trustee or trustees that have an issue, reach out to the village board president. He's been here enough. He's on commissions, or the superintendent. The problem is, if this behavior goes on forward, it reflects on all of you, not just the person making the comment. That's not fair to you. That's disrespectful. So talk to the parties that you have the conflict with. I guess I have a little more time. I want to point out, what, did it go around a circle? Never mind. Okay, last thing I'll say, I'll save more for later. So I don't know if you look around the room, congratulations. We have 5 women trustees, majority. I think that's the first time in the history of Germantown. Now, don't quote me on that, but I believe this is the first time we've had 5 women on the board out of 9. I don't think back in the 60s and 70s we could say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to come forward? Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Tom Barney, N105, W16775 Old Farm Road. Welcome to Trustee Borst and President Soderberg. Congratulations on your victories. I look forward to your ideas to move this village forward. Now to item 11G, and I'll probably sound like a broken record because I support you giving that person a refund as well. I understand that conditional use permits are not generally considered refundable, but when the village buys a property from someone who was only submitting the conditional use permit because they wanted to do something with that property, well, that to me seems like you kind of cut the legs out from under him, so a refund appears to be in order. And I do appreciate this being on your agenda. I think it should be a roll call vote if it does come up for a vote, just so the public can know who is for it and who's against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to come forward to speak tonight? Good evening and welcome.
Charlie Hargan, W169 North 11504 Biscayne Drive. My fest is always the third Saturday of May. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but it's always around the third Saturday of May. This year, the same thing, and we're gonna have a opening ceremony Saturday, and we would appreciate you being there to, since I'm the president of the Deutschstadt Heritage Foundation, we'd like you to be the Burgermeister of my fest. And I'm to crown the queen and tap the first keg. Thank you.
I will certainly do that. Thank you. Anyone else wanting to come forward to speak tonight? Good evening and welcome.
Susan Bernhard, North 120, West 14709, Freistadt Road. I do want to say that I am a little intimidated by the raised platform. Okay, I'm not sure if this is the right place to say this because I'm not sure what we're all supposed to do here, but I live on Freistadt Road. There is a lot of traffic there. We have a brand new subdivision with, I think, 191 new houses. They all have probably 2 cars at least. Can we talk about lowering the speed limit somehow? When I come out of my driveway of my farm, if I'm not going 55 immediately out of my driveway, I feel like people are going to run me over. So I don't know if this is where to bring it up, but maybe some discussion could be brought up. And also, I have a lot of problems with the Renwood subdivision next to me, but I think my 2 trustees might be bringing up some of those problems. I did send quite a few letters to Mr. Retzloff about a month ago. I have not received one word about that, about the problems I'm having. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to come forward? Do we have anyone on WebEx that wants to? Okay, moving on. We're now on to item 7, appointments and reappointments to boards, committees, and commissions. And everyone received some information over the weekend. And there was another update this morning that went out. These are appointments made by me. There's a couple things I'd like to highlight. One of which I mentioned in my president report on Russ Ewert. If we do go down, we will be going down the path in looking at what we need to do to modify the ordinance. That will come back to this body, not only to vote on the ordinance, but also to vote on Russ being in well, I shouldn't say that. He is a designated school board representative. The second thing would be on the General Finance Committee. We're going to go down the same path of seeing what we need to do to modify, adjust the ordinance. That will come back to this body for not only voting on the ordinance change, but also voting on the person that I'd like to appoint to that body. So those are 2 things that will be coming down, hopefully relatively in the near future. So saying that, we do have the recommended appointments that were sent out to my colleagues on the board. I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second? Okay, discussion. Yes, sir.
Do we have the opportunity to make amendments to this, or are we not allowed to? We just have to approve it or deny it?
I don't know. Hold on.
By and large, the appointments are president nominated, and then the village board approves. So if there was somebody that you didn't want in a particular position, for example, you would have to vote that down. The president then would have an opportunity to reappoint somebody. There is one exception to that, which is the Plan Commission. Plan Commission technically by the code does say for the village trustee position that it is elected by a majority of the village board at the organizational meeting, which this is. We've discussed that. You were, I think, on the board still at that point, and Terry, I think you were as well. But I think everybody else is probably new enough that you didn't have that discussion where the question came that Dean, President Walter would have nominated somebody, just as was the case here, and whether or not that was appropriate or not. And the answer is that yes, that's fine, because the president by statute is a member of the village board. And so that's perfectly okay for them to do that. That would be one that I think you could potentially, as a body, nominate somebody different and go that route. But certainly would be unusual for, at least in my 13 years, it's never been done. So
And then the two positions that are not positions yet, are we actually voting on those people tonight? So
No.
those are not on there.
That's correct.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to pull the Plan Commission trustee.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Russ will be in that position as a citizen representative on the Plan Commission.
As he currently is.
You will, no, he's not. He's in the position as an ex officio member, a school board representative.
But we haven't given him permission to vote.
We are, based on my appointment this evening, he's going to be shifting over from the school board rep to the citizens rep, because I want him to vote.
So you're making him a citizen member, not a school board member. So we need
Until such
another school board
time that we could review the ordinance on what we need to do to make some changes, then he'll pivot back over to the school board representative, and then I'll make another appointment on the citizens rep. He should have been a voting member on day one, and he was not, because the counterpart from this board, I think it's you, Meg, you're on the building committee for the school board. You're a full voting member. There needs to be reciprocity. So that's why I'm going down this path. I trust this individual to make appropriate comments and also vote. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So.
Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion to amend and pull the Plan Commission trustee from the agenda.
We have a second.
Second for discussion.
Discussion. We're gonna take a vote on that. We're voting on the amended to pull the Plan Commission from the overall appointments. So we'll take does that have to be a roll call vote, or do we just do?
No.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay, that motion passes. I'm opposed. Yep. So that passes. So discussion. Yes.
Okay, based on the significance of the zoning changes that are coming up and the fact that we have an engineer on the Plan Commission already, I think that is putting another engineer on the Plan Commission is not warranted, but somebody who understands and is fluent in zoning codes and zoning issues, architectural design, guidelines of those nature. I recommend we put the architect back on board, which was myself. So I'll make a motion to have myself put back on the Plan Commission.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Yes.
I've worked with both these gentlemen for, I don't know how many years now, and I didn't realize we had another engineer on the Plan Commission. I thought Bob would be a good addition as an engineer. I do think that David brings an unusually good perspective, whether we agree with it or not. That I'm not saying. We're not always going to agree with him, but I don't think that's a reason to keep him off that board. And I would support him being back on that board, because that's the one critical thing he brings to both the village board and the Plan Commission that none of us can offer.
Further discussion. Trustee Cutts.
Well, are you asking then to remove Bob Warren and replace him with David, or just add David?
No. My motion is to remove Bob and add me to the list.
How does Bob feel about that? You don't care?
How do you feel about that? I would.
I think David brings a lot of value to the commission with his background and knowledge in architecture and his knowledge of the industry. My focus is on engineering, which is kind of where I like to say where the rubber meets the road. But as far as the visioning, I see the commission as more of the visioning, the big outlook. And that's where I feel, seeing David and his knowledge through the years, I think he actually brings more value to that position.
Further discussion? Trustee Jan Miller.
Well, my opinion is that they're both talented. They both have their own talents. And I think that as president, you have a lot of talent. And I think you have a purpose for changing up the Plan Commission. That is my thought. And they are both qualified as far as I'm concerned. But I think that, as you said in your speech, taking a different perspective or using somebody else's eyes is also a good idea. And it doesn't mean that there aren't great ideas. But I think that we should respect and honor the list as it is for the time being. And it is a good choice to have Bob Warren on the Plan Commission. Thank you.
Trustee Rick Miller.
Yeah, I do have a couple questions, and I guess the first one is to President Soderberg, and that is, number one, why would you like to make that change? And then my second question as a follow-up is, David, there has been a few times where there's been a conflict of interest, and how do you handle that? And do you feel that, you can present at the Plan Commission with a potential conflict of interest, or what happens when that occurs? So I don't know who wants to go first.
Trustee Baum.
Oh,
Do I honor the policy of the village as to you must recuse yourself when you have a conflict of interest?
yes, I didn't mean that by any stretch of the imagination. I know you do that.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
does it occur often? How often does it occur? I'm not positive.
In my career, being on the Plan Commission for over 20 years, I've had to recuse myself 3 times. Once was a client of mine who presented a project without me even knowing it, and it showed up on the agenda. I had to recuse myself when he presented. I also had a former client who I had a conflict with business dealings with, so I recused myself from that item. And recently, I have the conflict of interest with a portion of the Village Center project, and I have recused myself from that. So I have no problem doing it, and I have worked with the village attorney on most of those occasions, and I have consulted with the village planner when I am or am not allowed to participate.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I was hoping not to have this conversation because I was hoping that my fellow trustees would give me the flexibility to appoint who I think is best to fulfill what I think we need to do going forward. And I did chat with Trustee Warren this past week at the Plan Commission meeting, and he willingly, he said, yes, I would have no problem doing that. 20 years on the Plan Commission, I think, is a long term. I mean, I was on the school board for 12 years, school board president for 9 years. I knew when I had to get out. What I'm looking for is fresh blood. I want new ideas, new thoughts. Specific to your comment on conflict of interest and recusal, I totally disagree with you. I think you are still conflicted on the TID 10 project. The Ascension property, it's Red Badger LLC. It's owned by Gray Wolf. And if you've got a relationship with Gray Wolf, I want to know what that is. I really don't care what it is. I want to know what it is. Are you taking equity in the company? Are you drawing a salary in the company? You have a spouse working for the company. When I was the school board president, I had a conflict of interest at Johnson Controls. Everyone knew that. We had building controls in all of our schools, and when it came to voting on more work for Johnson Controls or even paying the invoices for Johnson Controls, I recused myself. But I also said why I'm recusing myself because of my conflict. You failed to do that. You're doing a disservice to your fellow trustees, but most importantly, you're doing a disservice to the community on what the conflict of interest is. Now, if my fellow trustees put you back on the plan commission, which I don't support, and I will be voting no, you will be conflicted when we when we have discussions on the TID 10 project. And turn the clock back forward, when you were on the plan commission, when you said that you weren't conflicted anymore, based on my opinion, you were still conflicted. So I've got an issue with that, and that's why I'm making the change, Trustee Miller. Any further discussion? Yes, Trustee Baum.
So to retort that, I have talked with our village attorney. I have asked him about my conflict of interest. Does it currently exist? Gray Wolf is no longer technically in the project. Therefore, they have no bearing on me and I have no bearing on them. The board, based on when this first came up, I explained to the board what my issue was. And that was during a closed session meeting, and I was told not to speak of anything in the closed session meeting. So therefore, I have not breached anything that has been a problem with this project.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And going forward, we will do things different on this board. We will not only have those conversations in closed session, but we will have those conversations in open session so that everybody knows. I've been attending these meetings for 6 months. I don't know how many times that when the TID 10 project was discussed or the Village Center was discussed, you recuse yourself. I want somebody that sits here that can vote or to discuss and vote on matters without giving a recusal. And you're not that person. Yes.
And during those meetings, you were negotiating with Gray Wolf. Gray Wolf is no longer being negotiated with. Therefore, I am not being influenced by them and they're not being influenced by me anymore.
We still have a pending sale, or we do still have a closing coming up in June for the Ascension property
The negotiations are done.
of $5 million.
The
You don't know
negotiations are done.
what I may want to do in terms of pivoting from that whole project and getting out of the contract.
And if
And
you
if
want to,
and you're still connected with Gray Wolf, AKA Red Badger LLC, I've got an issue with that. So that's why I'm taking you off the plan commission.
and if the village attorney advises me to not vote, then I will not vote on that. If it becomes an issue, I will begin recusing myself.
Gotcha. So anyway, from my opinion only, there's a dark cloud over you on this whole thing. And I want to remove that based on my comments from the president's report. And I stand by my comments. So further discussion. Okay, we're going to vote on the plan commission only appointment, and then we're going to go back and vote on everything else. I believe that's what we're doing, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Donna, can you repeat the motion just so we're all on the same page? The motion was to amend and pull trustee Warren from plan commission and have trustee to fill that. Thank you. You're welcome.
Can we do a roll call vote? I'd like to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone understand the motion? Okay, trustee Warren?
No.
I'm sorry,
No.
trustee Ketz?
This is to pull Bob off and put David on.
It's for the amendment.
Okay.
Yes,
No.
the amendment is to remove trustee Warren on the plan commission and to have trustee Baum to fill that position.
No.
Trustee Baum,
Aye.
Trustee Jay Miller,
No.
trustee Borst,
No.
trustee Peeper,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller,
No.
trustee Kaminsky, village president Soderberg.
No, that motion fails. So, Mr. Warren, you're on the Plan Commission. So we're going to vote on all the other appointments, not including the Plan Commission. So, yes.
I just wanted to discuss my appointment to general government and finance. So in my professional career in the financial services industry with lots of licenses, I'm required to disclose outside business activities. So this and the committees being a part of that. And I did submit it, but my company is still reviewing it. They more heavily scrutinize anything finance related. And I just don't want to be on this and then have to say, I can't be on it anymore due to that. So I would like to consider just removing myself even temporarily until I get the approval from GGF and putting me on any other vacancy. And I'm open to any of those that make sense.
Okay. Trustee Peeper?
If it's okay, I would like to take her place on GGF. And you may have a place, you could take one of mine in the meantime, if you would like. I only have one currently.
Oh, you've got two.
No, I have one. I'm on public safety. That's it.
And I'm on public safety as well.
What's the other one that you resigned from her chair position?
No, you did not, you removed me from chair.
I did, but you're still on the committee.
No, well, as of this morning, I was not listed. The position was listed as vacant this morning at 9.
Yeah, that was incorrect. You were always on that committee. And that, I'll follow my sword for that, but it was miscommunication on my part with Administrator
I
Krekel.
missed my email earlier then.
I must have. So you're on two committees today.
No, I'm on one today.
You're on Public Safety
Public safety.
and the Economic Development Committee.
No.
I saw in,
Signed from Economic Development Committee.
from the chair.
No, from the entire committee.
Okay.
As of this morning, you're saying?
No, as of this morning, I didn't think it was on it at all. And then Steve sent me an email clarifying, and then I sent an email back saying I resign.
Okay, this should not be that difficult, folks. I appointed you to the Economic Development Committee as a village trustee representative. I removed you from the chair and I put someone else in the chair position. So you're still on the committee.
And it was also removed from GGF, and I would like to remain on GGF.
Right. So, and I removed you from GGF. So are you saying you don't want to be on the Economic Development Committee?
I resigned. I'm not on it.
You are on it because I appointed you on it and we're voting on that right now. It's not that difficult. So you're on the Economic Development Committee that we're going to be voting on right now. And I would say, I would ask council,
Later.
referencing Christine Borst, trustee Borst. Now, do we have to have a trustee position voted on tonight, or can we wait a couple weeks to get further clarity from her company?
It certainly would be up to the board. The code provides for the 3 standing committees actually that there's a minimum of 3 members. By practice, historically, we've done 4. But without her, you have 3 and are technically valid at that point. So you could withhold on action on the 4th one until some later date would be okay.
So we're not going to backfill Christine Borst's position until she provides further information for us. So we're voting on the committee appointments that you all have copies of. We do a roll call again, so we can do this. I apologize.
You're fine.
Thank you.
Does everybody understand what we're approving? Okay, then we'll do the roll call.
Ida, could you approve that motion?
I'm sorry, trustee Warren, can you turn on your microphone? I'm not hearing you.
Sorry. Could you explain what we're voting on here?
Yes.
There were a lot of
Yes,
things
I
going
I
back.
thought that we might want to do that, so village attorney, do you want to give a description as to what the ask is right now?
I can, or you can. Effectively, the motion, original motion was to approve as presented. We went through the possible changes as it related to your position on Plan Commission. That's now done. And so the motion to approve everything else was on the floor. There was a suggestion that we're not going to act on Trustee Borst's position based on her statement. And so the vote would be on everything but her appointment on GGF.
Need a motion to pull that?
Yes, we're not going to vote on trustee Boris' position on GGL.
But do we need a motion to pull it? That's what I'm asking.
But I think what the president has just said that he's pulled that nomination for the time being, so that's no longer being considered. Is that fair?
That's correct.
Good.
Okay.
All right. So Trustee Warren,
Aye.
Trustee Ketz,
Aye.
Trustee Baum,
Nay.
Trustee Jen Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Borst. Aye. Trustee Pieper,
No.
Trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky, Village President Soderberg.
Aye. That motion carries. We are now on to item 8, consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Oh, roll call. We have to do roll call, right?
No.
Or no?
Do we have to?
But by practice, we've traditionally done roll call on
Okay.
consent agenda.
Yeah, you're correct.
And again, I apologize. I told you I would be stumbling in my first board meeting, so this is one of those things. So 3 roll call, that's a record. So,
And just for clarity, oftentimes on consent, we do have items that are monetary, which is why we just, on habit, just do roll call just so that it's always covered.
Well, item B would essentially be many. Yeah. A roll call vote it is.
Yep.
Okay, for consent agenda, items A and B, roll call vote, starting with Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Ketz,
Aye.
Trustee Baum.
Aye.
I'm sorry, did you say?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Kirsten Borst,
Aye.
Trustee Pieper,
Aye.
Trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Kaminsky, Village President Soderberg.
Aye.
Thank you.
That motion carries. We're on to item 9, unfinished business. Contract for turf management plan with Total Lawn Care for the 2025-2026 season.
Motion to approve new or unfinished business item A.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, I was asked to come back with another proposal, which I have included in your packet from David J. Frank Landscape, and they were at $70,000, which is was over twice as much as what Total Lawn Care came in at $33,000.
Trustee Paper, sorry.
I just had one question, Gail. If you would be able to answer this for me, I'm not quite sure. So I did look through the packet and I did see the bid from TLC and I did see the bid from David J. Frank. But it looked to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, that David J. Frank was doing much more than what TLC was proposing. It looked to me, at least.
Trustee, he filled out the same plan as Total Lawn Care. So I believe it's the same plan. I didn't see any additional work that he was going to do.
So part of the turf management is aeration as well and top dress the entire field with top dressing sand for Freidenfeld and
That is correct, yes.
So they're going to, TLC is going to be performing everything listed under this turf management plan, Friedenfeld Main Football Field 2025. Same list I'm looking at.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, then I have no concerns.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Roll call, because it's money.
There you go. 4 roll calls. Thank you.
I learned from Donna.
We learned from one another. Okay. Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Ketz,
Aye.
trustee Baum,
Aye.
trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
trustee Borst,
Aye.
trustee Pieper,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
trustee Kaminsky, village president Soderberg.
Aye, that motion carries. Thank you. We are now on to we don't have any public hearings, but item 11, new business. Item A, resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $953.25 water system revenue bonds, Series 2025A, and providing for other details and covenants with respect thereto.
Thank you. I can introduce this, and we have Finance Director coming up, but to answer any questions. But basically, this would be issuing bonds totaling $953,000 that would fund the beautiful paint job of the water tower down on Mequon Road.
Thank you.
Yep, just to add on to that, so as you recall, last year we began the restoration process for Tower 3. In June of 2024, the board had issued a reimbursement resolution to essentially pay themselves back for the work of the water tower. So the village paid for that cash up front, and now we're reimbursing ourselves through the DNR through a safe drinking water loan to recoup those costs.
Okay. So
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
It's just discussion. Yes, trustee Cutts.
You mentioned paying it back through a drinking water loan, so we're getting a loan from DNR?
Correct.
And then we will pay that back to the DNR?
Correct. Yep. So the village had a couple of options. One was to pay for it with cash. Based on PSC regulations, paying for it in cash wasn't a realistic option. That would put us below a certain threshold that we could have for cash on hand for the water utility. So we scraped that one. At that point, it was whether to go for just generic water revenue bonds or to get a loan through the DNR. Based on the analysis that staff and Ehlers did, we would have saved about $150,000 getting a loan through the DNR. So that's what the board had approved back in June of 2024, and now we're closing on the loan in May.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Cutts,
Aye.
trustee Baum,
Aye.
trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
trustee Borst,
Aye.
trustee Pieper,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
trustee Kaminsky, village president Soderberg.
Aye, that motion carries. We are now on to item B, Village of Germantown Community Development Department, proposed text amendments to section 14 building and 17 zoning of the Village of Germantown Municipal Code. Director Rutzlaff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Village staff is proposing a few amendments to both our building and zoning code. Amendment number 1 creates a new subsection in the building code 14.095. It provides for the installation and use of temporary accessory structures associated with restaurants, bars, and other public buildings that are installed on a temporary or seasonal basis up to 180 days in a given year. It clarifies an exemption for outdoor furniture, clarifies an exemption for single-family residential and agricultural zoning district properties, and it provides for less rigorous building code requirements versus those that would be met for permanent structures and buildings. It also still provides for a building inspector and fire department review and inspection. Amendment number 2, excuse me, clarifies the existing section providing for outdoor accessory structures that applies to single-family and two-family residential properties intended for private personal use on a seasonal or year-round basis. It does allow for gazebos, pergolas, pavilions, et cetera. It includes a cross-reference to a separate set of provisions for the non-residential outdoor accessory structures that would be created under 14.095 under Amendment Number 1. And Amendment Number 3 creates a new subsection in the zoning code 17.45, provides for design and construction standards for new or replacement trash and recycling container enclosures installed on properties in all non-residential zoning districts. This codifies a current set of guidelines that staff and the Plan Commission use when reviewing new development proposals subject to site plan approval.
Thank you. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve new business item B.
Discussion? Trustee Jan Miller.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing these ordinances forward. I have a question about percentages, Jeff. I believe it's the first item, Amendment Number 1. In it on letter E, it says the structure may have a roof, blah, 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 25% of the potential sidewall. Okay. And then if you go to section 2, for the other outdoor activity structures, it has in D as in David, it may have a roof or ceiling, provides for protection, blah, 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 50% of potential side area. And the 25% was crossed off. So I was wondering, what's the difference? And could they both be 50%? Why change one and not the other?
Well, one applies, the first one with 25% applies to commercial structures. And
Okay.
it's intended to implement the provisions of the International Building Code, Section 3103 for temporary structures. That's more rigorous for commercial structures than it doesn't apply to residential.
Okay, so they are limiting the commercial.
Yes, and
Okay.
we did change the allowance for residential to allow a greater percentage
It
of
should be.
of enclosure.
Sure.
In some cases, on the residential side, some of those structures are installed on a permanent basis, which this code provides for.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
we still
good.
have the issue, frankly, of over time where those structures can be enclosed. You know, one year
Right.
it's one side, next year it's the other side, and all of a sudden it's a
Right.
full enclosed
It's a-
structure, but we'll
Now
have
we
to
need a
deal
new
with that
permit.
as
Right. Okay, all right. And that's definitely for temporary, correct?
On the commercial side, it's temporary up to 180 days.
Yeah.
Provisions for residential
Residential.
can be either temporary or permanent.
Okay, thank you very much.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item C, Trio Engineering LLC, agent for Charles Smith, property owner, W148 and 12470, Pleasant View Drive, application for rezoning a portion of the property from A1 Agricultural District to RS1 Single Family Residential District, and a portion of property from A1 Agricultural District to A2 Agricultural District, and a 2-lot certified survey map.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. As you mentioned, this is a certified survey map along with a rezoning to propose a land division here for this property that's roughly 20 acres at the corner of Pleasant View Drive and Lover's Lane. Currently, it's zoned A1 agricultural. The proposal, as you can see on screen, it is to essentially divide it, not quite down the middle, but one proposed lot would be at 5 acres and rezoned to RS1 to meet that minimum 5-acre standard. And the additional remaining lot at 12.87 acres would be zoned A2. This location is within the Rural Preservation District as pointed to on screen. And just a few staff comments on this. Staff does find this proposal consistent with the Rural Preservation District within the 2050 comp plan, given the one land division provision for properties between 10 and 20 acres. The lots do comply with zoning standards as proposed, and the applicant did provide his intent to construct a residence on the new lot that would be zoned A2, and there has been soil evaluations done for that showing suitability. Village surveyor has accepted all revisions to the CSM as you have in your packet. So with that, this case actually appeared last week in front of the Plan Commission, and it did receive recommendations for approval for the CSM and the rezone proposal. And I do believe the applicant's in the audience tonight, but I can take any questions.
Pieper.
Make a motion to approve new business item C as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item D, Donald, I hope I'm pronouncing this, Tomo, Accurate Surveying and Engineering LLP agent for Shepherd ETAL property owners N104 W21677 Willow Creek. GTNV 312 993 and Lankowski Revocable Family Trust property owner N104 W21628 Birch Lane. I'm not going to say that. Rezoning to and from RS1 single family residential and A2 agricultural districts and 2 certified survey maps for land exchange and property line adjustment.
Thank you. This proposal concerns property south of Willow Creek Road in the southwest corner of the village, as you can see on screen. And it concerns the 2 property owners entering into a settlement agreement, a private agreement, where the owners agree to exchange portions of their respective properties to remedy encroachments by one onto the other's property, including a construction of a 40 by 60 building across the common property line. There's a proposed land exchange that's reflected in the 2 CSMs and the rezonings that are before you this evening that include 0.58 acres going from the Laskowski to the Shepherd property and 0.32 acres going from the Shepherd to the Laskowski property. There we go. This graphic shows, again, the land exchange, the portion of the property to the south is highlighted in red that's going to the property to the north, and the portion of the property to the north that's going to the property to the south is highlighted in yellow. As reflected on the CSM, the north parcel is approximately 29 acres in size, and the 0.582 acre portion that is being added to it needs to be rezoned from RS1 residential to A2 agricultural to match the zoning on the larger share of the north property. On the south property, it's just over 7 acres in size, and the area that's being transferred to it or added to it is highlighted in yellow. That's 0.326 acres, and that needs to be rezoned from A2 agricultural to RS1 residential. The proposed CSMs and rezonings are consistent with the parcel size and location within the Willow Creek Wiedenbach neighborhood under the 2050 plan. The Shepherd building encroachment was constructed without permits, and that'll be dealt with in a separate matter. The use of the Shepherd property, potential A2 agricultural zoning district code and property maintenance violations were identified as well. Again, those items will be dealt with separately. And the village surveyor had some comments concerning the CSMs, but with that, the Plan Commission and staff recommendations are to approve both the certified survey maps and the rezonings as proposed.
Thank you. Entertain a motion. Trustee Pieper.
Make a motion to approve new business item D as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. We're now on to item E, Savannah Weihinger. I apologize if I screwed up the last name. property owner and agent for John and Christine, oh geez, Sermunga and Daniel and Christine Hyde, property owners. W204 and 10530, 105558, and 10578 Hilltop Drive. Application for rezoning portions of the property from RS1, Single Family Residential District, to RS4, Single Family Residential District, and a portion of the property from RS4, Single Family Residential District, to RS1, Single Family Residential District, and a certified survey map to accommodate the adjustment of property lines between 3 existing parcels.
All right, thank you. So as you mentioned, this is a lot line adjustment, or basically modifying existing lot lines between 3 parcels. 3 parcels are shown on the screen here. There's a little bit of an odd gap between lot 3 and lot 1 as shown. So the proposal for that gap, and then also to modify a little bit of the other parcels between lot 2 and the smaller lots. Here you can see on this proposed CSM, those new lot lines to essentially eliminate the odd configuration. The properties are located within the Willow Creek Wiedenbach neighborhood, which supports single-family residential use. Under this proposal, actually, it is a CSM and rezone, but in a sense, the zoning of the properties are remaining the same, and so is the use. So it's really to adjust the lot lines and get sort of like the last proposal, get those sliver of parcels that are being transferred or acreage into the parent parcels district. So with that, as I mentioned, no change in use. The lots comply with zoning standards, and our village surveyor has accepted revisions that have already been made to the CSM as proposed and presented in the packet. So with that, this case also appeared last week at the Plan Commission, and the recommendations were to approve the rezoning and the proposed certified survey map.
Okay, thank you. Entertain a motion. Trustee Pieper.
Make a motion to approve new business item E as presented.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we have discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. We are now on to item F, Crew Car Wash, agent for Dom Properties 74 LLC, property owner N96 W 17500 County Line Road, conditional use permit, approval extension request.
Thank you, Mr. President. Crew Car Wash was approved for site plan approval and conditional use permit last year in April. In both of those permits, approvals contain a 12-month or 1-year time period within which to commence construction, or they expire. The expiration date for the conditional use permit is April 15th. And the site plan approval would have expired on April 8th. However, we did receive a request to extend the approvals from the property owner prior to the 12-month period expiring. Crew Car Wash has indicated their desire to continue to move forward with the project, and they are obviously seeking an extension of the approvals under section 17.42 of the zoning code. They are allowed to petition for an extension with the period of extension to be granted at the discretion of the village board. They're requesting a 12-month extension from the original date that would extend the expiration date to April of 2026. So that is before you this evening. The Plan Commission took action on the request to extend the site plan approval at their meeting last week, and they did grant that extension as well. There is a letter in the packet from the property owner requesting the extension. The reasons cited: economic conditions affecting the construction, interest rates, inflation, supply chain disruptions, and also some operational and management considerations, as I would describe them, some staff recruiting, and an attempt to coordinate a statewide multi-store rollout of Crew Car Wash in the state of Wisconsin. With that, they have indicated a new construction schedule that includes building demolition and the underground tank removal in early 2026, with site work and building construction to commence immediately thereafter and continue through 2026. The Plan Commission recommendation to the board is to approve the requested 12-month CUP approval extension to April 8th, 2026.
Thank you. Entertain a motion. Trustee Peeper.
Make a motion to approve new business item F as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Yes, Trustee Cutts.
I just have a question, Jeff. If they get through this 12 months and have problems and don't make the deadlines, can they extend again, or would they just have to start over at that point?
No, the way the code is written, they could actually come back and request another extension. Arguably, it's at your discretion to grant it, so they'd have to have a good reason.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. We are now on to item G, refund conditional use permit application fee to Greg Kemzek, agent for BioResearch Associates.
I'll make a motion to approve for discussion.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion.
I guess I'm going to ask our village attorney a question because I'm trying to go back in time and remember how this took place. And I know this gentleman wanted to buy the building that we ended up purchasing, but hadn't purchased at the time. Can you just help me with this? Or I know a lot of it was in closed session, but now I'll go. I need the explanation. I'll tell you my thoughts on it.
Sure. So in short, starting back in 2022, I believe, we became aware of the fact that the property was available. This board in open session in April of 22 approved getting appraisals for the property. And once we had the appraisals, we met then in closed session, talked about what potential offers might look like, and directed me to negotiate that. As part of that negotiations, you'll recall that the board had a fairly fixed idea of what the purchase price should be, or that they weren't willing to go above. And when it looked like we weren't going to get that from conversations that I was having with their attorney, we had basically left it at that. Figured that was the end of the discussions and off we went. In the meantime, the property owner, looking to just sell his property because it was on the market, was in contact with the folks at BioResearch. And they came forward and prepared an application for the conditional use permit that would have been required. They did not, however, have the property under contract. They were just doing this with the permission of the property owner, and they went through that process. During that process, some communications took place between staff and the owner of the property, who indicated that he was still really interested in potentially selling the property, and that ultimately resulted in an offer to purchase and ultimate acquisition of the property. Unfortunately, at the same time, that conditional use permit was still pending, and when it was before the board, in fact, the property owner, not the property owner, the representative of BioResearch, asked whether or not the funds would be refunded or not. And at that time, I gave what is the legal answer, maybe not the political answer or the nice answer, but the legal answer was my recommendation would be no, simply because you should have protected yourself. You should have had it under contract, or whatever the case may be. But with that said, you certainly can understand why the board might choose to not follow the legal advice and do it a different way. Plenty of times where the board has done otherwise, and it doesn't hurt my feelings at all. So.
I recalled that it was, everything kind of happened all at once there, and that guy was left out in the cold, essentially. And I support giving him his money back. I know I've had to pay for conditional use permits here. And I mean, back in the day, I could have come and been upset about it too, because mine went nowhere. But everybody's different, and I'm sure that this guy was extremely upset with us, and I think we should give him the money back.
Further discussion? Seeing none,
Roll call.
Seeing that's money. I'm learning. Yes, thank you.
So that was the motion by trustee Kaminsky, seconded by trustee Jan Miller, and roll call vote for trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Ketz,
Aye.
trustee Baum,
Nay.
trustee Jan Miller,
Aye.
trustee Bortz,
Aye.
trustee Pieper,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
trustee Kaminsky, village president Soderberg.
Aye, that motion carries. Thank you. We're on to item H, discussion and possible action related to enforcement of the outdoor entertainment permit.
Sure. So this is before you this evening for potential action related to how we want to enforce the outdoor entertainment permit. You'll recall that back in January, the board adopted the code amendment that created the permit. As part of that process, we also said, hey, come back with an additional code amendment that deals with some of the revocation procedures, which we ended up doing, and that ultimately was approved in March as part of that process. A component of the ordinance that I think maybe got overlooked a little bit, perhaps by the board at least, as part of it. Certainly my drafting was intended that everything went into place immediately. We were changing some of the standards for noise. In addition, we were creating the permit with the expectation that it would go into effect immediately. What we didn't anticipate was that property owners really, unless they were paying attention, wouldn't be aware of the fact that this new permit would be required until we sent out the applications for renewals for all of the alcohol permits, which just took place last week. And the property owners first see this new application and say, hey, what is this? What's going on? And then realizing that we don't realistically have time to get these folks onto an agenda unless the Public Safety Committee wants to hold a special meeting before these events might start taking place here in late April into May, where typically they would start doing it. And so the question before you is really whether or not you want to look to just enforce the requirement immediately, and folks that weren't paying attention in January when we approved the ordinance are just kind of on their own, and we'll have to figure it out, or if we want to look at some potential delay in enforcement, whether that's until June or until July 1, which would be the typical renewal period that would be in place for these licenses moving forward.
But you do have a staff recommendation, correct?
Correct. Staff recommendation, as noted in the memo, would be to just go ahead and extend or to offer non-enforcement of it until basically the license year would begin. That's the easiest and cleanest from the clerk's perspective, and it also avoids the issue of potentially having a double annual permit where you're paying for a month and then again for the full year following up.
I'll make a motion to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Just one quick reiteration about your motion, Terry, if we could include that as well, because it said staff also recommends making annual permits issued valid until June 30th, 2026 to avoid double annual fees for these first permits issued. We could include that. It was in the staff recommendation.
Yeah, that certainly was part of the recommendation. I just didn't address that. But again, the idea, we do have a couple applications that have already been made. And if they were to, say get it issued here in May, the question would be whether we'd require them to renew an annual permit then right away, for July as well. And so again, just in the sake of just trying to be transparent and business friendly, the recommendation was, to just make that basically a year plus whatever, month or month and a half that they might get otherwise.
So if that's okay with you, Terry, if we could modify our motion to include that?
That's the staff recommendation.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay. I didn't know if it was, I just wanted to clarify that.
And trustee Pieper, you seconded, correct?
Correct.
Great. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. We're on to item I, resolution establishing the 2025 fee schedule for weights and measures devices required under section 12.26 of the municipal code.
Move approval of agenda item, what are we? Aye.
It's I.
Agenda item.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Yes, sir.
This came through GGF tonight and was approved unanimously.
Great. Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
That need to be roll call since there's no.
No, it's not a claim against the finances. It's just
Okay.
setting a fee.
Right.
I didn't hear. Did anyone say opposed?
That motion carries. We are now on to item J, collective bargaining agreement between the Germantown Professional Police Association, Local 306, and the Village of Germantown. The village board may convene in a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 1E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public businesses whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and then may convene into open session, take action as the board deems appropriate.
All right.
I don't think we need to go into closed session.
Correct. You don't need to go into closed session immediately. You would only need to go into closed session basically if you do not take the staff recommendation of approving the tentative agreement and have further direction for staff about how to proceed.
One also went through GGF.
And this did go through GGF as well.
It's unanimous, I think.
It was unanimously approved by GGF. And since there was a longer presentation at GGF, I'll be somewhat brief, but there are some things should cover. There is a tentative agreement in place with the Germantown Police Union for a 3-year contract covering 2025, 26, and 27. Under the terms of the agreement, there would be a 4% pay increase for the officers that are part of the union each of those years. The cost for the union members only would be 138,000, an additional 138,000 in 2025, an additional 143,000 in 26, and an increase of 150,000 in 27. I do want to point out that we do need to be aware of compression issues within the police department. If this contract does go through, the police command staff this year and non-represented staff received a 3% increase. So over the course of the next 3 years, we'll likely have to provide some additional increases for the non-union staff within the police department in order to so that the lieutenants are making more than the sergeants, the captains are making more than the lieutenants and the chief, and so on. Calculating the cost of that would be 215,000 in 2025, 223,000 in 26, 233,000 in 27. And as those of you who've gone through the budget process, each year will those numbers are likely going to be about the same or greater than our net new construction levy increase for each one of those years. So I guess there is a commitment at this point then to taking on an expense that will, by and large, over the next 3 years, utilize all of our levy increases. One of the things that I'm recommending as a result of that, and I think is consistent with what the board has stated about funds that are unspent from from vacant positions that were approved in the referendum, as well as what I've seen coming from the public, is that those funds that are used, they approved 4 new police officers as part of the referendum. We won't be able to fill all 4 of those positions this year due to just lack of candidates and training slots and a number of other factors. So my recommendation is to set aside those funds for pay increases that are in the police department and likewise in the fire department, a similar situation. I think that'll help us get through the next 3 years from a budgetary perspective. Beyond that, I just want to be very candid and say it's a challenge. And I think a lot of municipalities are facing that, and we'll be right there along with them.
Thank you. Entertain a motion. Trustee Pieper.
Make a motion to approve as staff stated.
Second.
Discussion.
Quick comment. We did address also in general government and finance, what are our options really? And you might just want to mention the arbitration option, which we don't think would be successful at.
Sure, sure. That's a very good question the public should be aware of. So we've gone through several months of negotiations with the police union. We were unable to come to a voluntary agreement. So the next step we took was mediation. So a couple of weeks ago, the police chief, myself, and the law firm that's representing us in this process met with them and a mediator where we came to this tentative agreement. If at this point, the village board, and I also should point out the union did approve the tentative agreement at a meeting they had earlier today. If the village board would decline or vote negative on this agreement, the next step would be arbitration. And it's binding arbitration that's determined by state statute. And the way that works is each side submits to the arbitrator a best and final offer. And the arbitrator picks one of those two offers in total. They don't, under state statute, they're not allowed to pick one piece or the other. And they are not allowed to consider the ability of the municipality to pay as part of their consideration. So there is a very good chance that if we went to arbitration, we could end up with a more costly contract than what you have before you today.
Further discussion, trustee Jan Miller.
And then just to add, Administrator Krecklow, you did confirm that the attorney from Von Briesen that worked with you on this settlement was in agreement with the tentative agreement that we have right now in
Yes.
front of us.
Further discussion, seeing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Ketz,
Aye.
trustee Baum,
Nay.
trustee Jen Miller,
Aye.
trustee Boards,
Aye.
trustee Pieper,
Aye.
trustee Rick Miller,
Aye.
trustee Kaminsky, village president Soderberg.
Aye, that motion carries. We are now on, Chairman. We are done. I survived. Thank you very much. And please drive home safe. We are adjourned at 8:37.
Dude.